The three men convicted in the murder of Ahmaud Arbery are now facing life in prison. A jury found Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Bryant guilty of murdering the 25-year-old in Brunswick, Georgia last year. Arbery was out jogging, and the defendants claimed they thought he was a burglar. CBS Mornings spoke with Arbery's mother about Wednesday's verdict.
I was very, very excited. It was like a dream come true. I hope the guilty verdict in Ahmaud's case will give the families that have gotten no justice at this point some sense of encouragement that if you keep pushing, you keep fighting, that justice will prevail.
Omar Villafranca has followed this trial closely for weeks now and has reaction from Brunswick.
Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty.
Ahmaud Arbery's father couldn't hold back as Judge Timothy Walmsley read Wednesday's verdict.
I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please.
In total, Travis and Gregory McMichael and William Roddy Bryan were found guilty on 23 counts. Travis McMichael was found guilty on all of his charges. As he left court, red-faced, he mouthed, "Love you," to his mother. The defendants were found guilty of murdering Arbery in February 2020, while Arbery was out for a jog in a southern Georgia neighborhood. The defense argued the defendants thought Arbery was a burglar and attempted to make a citizen's arrest. Travis McMichael fired his shotgun 3 times. The 25-year-old Arbery was unarmed. A cell phone video of the killing, taken by Bryan, revealed the incident, igniting nationwide protests. Prosecutor Linda Dunikoski says she had confidence in the jury.
You finished with your final rebuttal of the closing arguments. What are you thinking now that the jury has the case and they're going back to deliberate?
I thought, I'm done. They've got it. They're smart. They paid really close attention. They took a lot of notes. They're going to get this. They're going to do the right thing.
This is a very difficult day for Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael. These are 2 men who honestly believed that what they were doing was the right thing to do.
Attorney Jason Sheffield represents Travis McMichael.
That is a very disappointing and sad verdict. But we also recognize that this is a day of celebration for the Arbery family. We understand that they feel they have gotten justice today. We respect that. We honor that.
Ahmaud Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, sat in court throughout the trial. On Wednesday, she walked out of the building to cheers.
I never thought this day would come, but God is good. He will now rest in peace.
Amen.
Thank you.
Defense attorneys say they plan to appeal the decision. No sentencing date has been set, but the minimum penalty for murder is life in prison. Now, if a judge allows the possibility of parole, eligibility would only come after serving 30 years. Christina?
Omar, thank you. And now CBS News legal contributor and former Manhattan prosecutor Rebecca Royfee joins us for more. Rebecca, what was your initial reaction to this verdict? Given the trajectory of the trial, this very skilled prosecutor, is this where you thought it was going to go, or were there surprises when those verdicts, where all those counts were read out?
I thought the prosecutor had the better argument in her closing statement when she argued that these defendants attacked Ahmaud Arbery because he was running and he was a black man. They cornered him like bullies, and when he fought back, they killed him. That story made sense to me given the presentation of the evidence, and I thought it was compelling. On the other hand, the defense had that odd citizen arrest law in Georgia that's no longer the law there, and that concerned me because that gave them at least some modicum of credibility when they claimed that this was, the McMichaels and Bryan were just out there trying to protect their neighborhood. And so, it did seem like the right verdict, and I wasn't surprised, but there was that one element of this outdated law in Georgia that made the defense possible.
It's not the law now, but it was the law when the incident occurred. Is that correct? It's since been repealed?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so for people who don't understand this as well as you do, can you explain to us why they charged each defendant with so many of those different counts, and why Travis McMichael was the only defendant convicted of both malice and felony murder? What's the difference between the two, and why was he the only one who was guilty on both those charges?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So malice murder is the law in Georgia, and it's the law that essentially is essentially like first-degree murder. What it says is that you acted with malice and you had the intention to kill somebody and you were not provoked. So essentially, with regard to Travis, what that translated into in this case was here was somebody who was mad when Arbery didn't comply with his demands, and at that point got angry, shot him and killed him, intended to kill him and killed him. But you can understand why the jury did not convict the other defendants of that crime, because while they were there and they participated in it, they were not the ones to pull the gun. On the other hand, felony murder is a different kind of murder charge, and what that charge means is if you kill somebody even without the intention, or you're an accomplice to somebody who kills another person without an intention to do so while committing another felony, then you too are guilty of murder. And so because all three defendants were involved in the other charges, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and other crimes, because somebody was killed during the course of that felony, they, as accomplices to the felony, are guilty of murder too. So that's why they were found guilty of those charges, and I expected that they wouldn't have been found guilty of intentional murder too.
It's complicated. There's a lot of nuance in there. It seems that, as somebody said to me, it seems like the jury understood the assignment and put a lot of thought into that verdict. Now, all three men have been convicted in the murder. All three of them face life in prison, but it's going to be up to the judge to decide whether or not they get the possibility of parole. What factors into a decision like that, and do you have any take on where you think he'll go with this?
So sentencing is complicated, and a lot of different factors go into sentencing. Here's the point in the trial in which things that couldn't come up during the course of the trial will come up, and he will consider those things, the judge, carefully. So, things like character, connection to the community, good works, those will work in favor of the defendants. And on the other hand, the amount of harm, the degree of harm, the impact of this crime on the community, on the victims, that will go in the other direction. And so it's, a somewhat long process in which the judge considers all of these things, and there are a number of reports that are made before he makes that decision.
Now, attorneys for at least one of the defendants say they do plan to appeal. Do they have grounds for that? What are the grounds they're going to be seeking for that appeal?
So that's common. In almost every criminal case, there is an appeal, and there are always questions on appeal. One of the things that will, I'm sure, be raised is that citizen arrest law. So there was a matter of law that was decided during the course of this case, which is that that law did not apply to these men. And they will argue on their appeal that given the law, the jury couldn't have no reasonable jury could have come to the conclusion that it came to. And there will be evidentiary questions and other questions that will be raised on appeal. My personal opinion is that this was a trial that was conducted very well. The judge did a good job. The prosecutor did a good job. And I don't think any of those will be successful, but it's the defense attorney's job to raise them and make sure that his clients get every last shot to question the verdict.
Give their client a vigorous defense, right? Now, these men are also facing
Absolutely.
federal charges. What more can you tell us about the federal charges they're facing, and how will that proceed?
So they were charged with federal hate crimes, and they were actually unusually charged before the state verdict came out. Normally, the federal government will wait and bring charges when it feels that the state laws were inadequate to take care of the criminal conduct that was involved. But because of the weightiness of these issues, the social importance of these issues right now, the government acted quickly, and that means that these other charges hang over the defendants as well. And it will proceed as it will, in the federal courtroom.
Rebecca Roifi, thank you very much for joining us, especially on a holiday. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
You as well.